When I was a young child growing up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I understood that there was another part of the world that was atheistic, communistic, where people couldn't have their own Bibles, they couldn't share their faith, people were sent off to prison. We were supposed to hate the Russians, hate the Soviets. There was something about them, and I just felt drawn to them, and I prayed for them.
Mick Stockwell didn't know it then, but God was preparing him for a journey that would begin with a paintbrush and a football scholarship to Liberty Baptist College.
There was a new line coach there. His name was Coach Kaltenbach, and there was a little barn-looking building out by the fields. And I walked in there and I said, "What are you doing?" And told him who I was, and he said, "Well, I'll be your coach." And he says, "Grab a brush." So I started off by painting the lockers that we would use that year.
It was 1976, and the budding Liberty football program was preparing to start its 4th season. Mick was one of 80 new players that would complete the 120-man roster that year. In the beginning, accommodations and equipment were limited. Players would practice on the grounds of a youth camp called Treasure Island.
We went out to the island, saw the facilities that Liberty did not have. It was really sad. We came through the hard times in the beginning at Liberty Baptist College.
The football program and the college continued to grow, and at the same time, God's plan for Mick was slowly starting to be revealed.
On February 10th, 1977, in chapel at the Old Thomas Road Baptist Church, I went forward and I gave my life to missions. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know where I would go.
After graduating from Liberty, Mick would marry his college sweetheart, Delise, and together they would raise 3 boys. It was around that time that Mick noticed something slowly starting to change on the other side of the world.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
We watched everything unfold in the former Soviet Union.
Tear down this wall.
We watched Glasnost and Perestroika and the Berlin Wall come down.
No one had expected that something like this was about to happen.
And then a phone call from a lifelong friend would expedite God's plan for Mick.
Hey Mick, we're going on a mission trip to Russia, and we're going to Moldova, and we're going to Romania. And I was just thinking, hey, maybe you'd like to go. Ukraine was broken, rusted, bankrupt, falling apart. The infrastructure was devastated just from the fall of the Soviet Union. We were walking down the street one day. We'd been passing out tracts, and people were just hungry for anything from the West, anything about the Lord, anything about the gospel. And I said, "Hey, couldn't you come live here? Wouldn't you want to do this? Isn't this exciting?" And these 2 older men looked at me like, "You must have lost your mind." And they immediately said, "No." And then one of them looked at me straight in the eye and he said, "But you could." With my wife and our 3 boys at that time, they were 11, 9, and 6. We moved to Kiev, Ukraine. It was difficult. There were things there that we weren't ready for. They talk about culture shock. They talk about enduring. There were times when I came home from the struggle and literally laid on my bed, and I would begin to weep. And I just remember the Holy Spirit coming to me and saying, "Mick, it will be all right. I've called you. You are mine, and you will accomplish what I've called you to do." So we went out into towns, villages, small cities that didn't have any church at all, and people just rushing up who had literally never heard the gospel or never held a Bible in their hand. So we passed out Bibles, we passed out children's books, and we helped to go in and do evangelism. We'd come alongside a Ukrainian leader as a church planter and help them plant that church.
But in February of 2022, when Russian tanks started rolling into Ukraine, Mick was obviously concerned. But mostly, he was shocked.
None of us believed that there could be a war between Russia and Ukraine because they're basically the same people. They've been together politically for over 500 years, and they're all intermarried. Everyone speaks Russian. It's their heart language. It's who they are.
Mick's first concern was for the people of Ukraine, and then he started to think about his own family, the memories of raising his boys in a place that has now been decimated by war.
It's really real for us. At this point right now, we're not able to actively send out new missionary families, and there's no economy there to support their missionaries.
Mick and Delise are now living in the Czech Republic, currently helping to relocate millions of Ukrainian refugees around the world.
I don't think we're responsible for the outcomes. You know, for all the people who may have come to Christ, for the churches that were planted, or the people that we invested in. The one thing that will matter is that we've been faithful, that we were obedient, and that we trusted the Lord with the results, but we gave it everything that we had. I'm always grateful for the people who sacrificed, believed in the vision, believed in the goal, believed in us. Helped send me as a student here to Liberty, and then for those who helped send us to be missionaries and who are now empowering my national partners to go all over the world as missionaries.